Welcome in to the Punt and Pass podcast. I'm your host, Drew Butler, joined alongside my co-host, Jake Fromm. Be sure to follow us on social media. We are at Punt and Pass on X and Instagram. I'm at Drew Butler. He's at Fromm Jake. Puntandpass.com, the number one destination for all things college football. Man, I cannot believe this weekend is November 16th. The season is flying by. It is week 12 of the 2024 college football season, the second rendition of the college football playoff rankings were just released. There's a huge game in Athens this weekend, and tiebreaker scenarios keep getting brought up. We've been on top of this for weeks now. We're going to touch on all that, break down the biggest games of the weekend. First things first, how are you, Mr. Fromm?
Hey, man, doing great. Like you said, it is coming down to the wire. You can almost smell Thanksgiving. You can almost smell rivalry week. We can't get ahead of ourselves here. All these different scenarios hopefully should play themselves out. But, man, it is coming down the wire and can't wait to see how it unravels.
You know what needs to play itself out in the right way? One of my Prize Picks entries.
That's right.
I mean, I have been getting – it hasn't been the best 2024 season for me on Prize Picks. I know it has been for you because our listeners are so educated. Some might say they know ball better than I do. I would argue that. There's no doubt, though. We have a lot of ball knowers in the Punt and Pass audience, and if you are a ball knower, Prize Picks is the best daily fantasy sports platform for you to cash in. This episode of Punt and Pass presented to you by our awesome partners over at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. Use the promo code PUNT, and when you play your first $5 entry, win or lose, you get $50 instantly. I also want to tell you, get into the Prize Picks app. Check Prize Picks out on social media heading into this weekend at Prize Picks on Twitter, X, Instagram, whatever you want to call it, wherever you go, because the Prize Picks World Championship is this weekend. You can sign up for a chance to win $5,000. Get on over to Prize Picks. Again, when you download the app, use the promo code PUNT. When you play your first $5 entry, you get $50 instantly, win or lose. You know it by now, but tell all of your friends. Use the promo code PUNT. It's so easy. You pick 2 to 6 players. You predict more or less on their stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. You can win up to 100 times your entry. Prize Picks is the best. Again, can't believe the Punt and Pass Prize Picks entry did not cash last week. Jalen Milroe went crazy. Kyron Lacey did enough. And Garrett Nussbaum, I mean, LSU just laid a total egg. Things changed this weekend, though. Week 12, November 16th. DB's putting one together. And it will cash. Shout out to Prize Picks, a great partner of Punt and Pass. Again, use the promo code PUNT. Tell a family member. Tell a friend. We've been getting great support all season long. Keep it rolling. It makes the holidays that much better. It is just a fact. So shout out to Prize Picks. Okay, let's kick things off. Start with 3 and out, first down. Of course, I think this is probably a theme that will continue with Fromm. We got to react to the college football playoff rankings because Tuesday night, in the second rendition, you knew there was going to be a mix-up. 2 teams lost in the top 10, Georgia and Miami. And you were just waiting to see how the committee would react. Spencer, throw the graphic up. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it now. The projected bracket of the college football playoff. Let me just say one thing first, Fromm. When Reese Davis kicks things off, he has to go through this entire diatribe explaining how the rankings work. It doesn't matter where you're seated. If you're a conference champ, you could be higher ranked. You could get a bye. I mean, it is crazy how convoluted the entire process has been, but I digress. Here is how things stand after the second week of the college football playoff rankings. For a lot of our listeners, you will notice that on the bottom left of this bracket, it says first team out, and it's the 12th ranked Georgia Bulldogs. You might say, well, why in the hell is the 12th ranked team not in the playoff when the top 12 teams do get into the playoff? That's because tied for 12th is Boise State, and Boise State, of course, is a conference champion or group of 5 teams. So they get in over Georgia. Excuse me, they're ranked 13th behind Georgia, and they jumped Georgia to get in to this college football playoff projection. It's crazy. It obviously caused a big stir on social media. I will say I do like some of these first-round matchups. The first-round matchups are going to be a blast. I mean, I cannot wait for that, Fromm. But your initial reactions to kick things off, no real surprises at the top. Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State. And then your buys, Oregon projected to win the Big Ten, Texas projected to win the SEC. BYU will be the higher ranked team out of the Big 12, and then Miami gets in as the projected ACC champ, even though they lost over the weekend to Georgia Tech. Is there anything really to talk about? I mean, this is really just fodder at this point because things will continue to play themselves out.
Yeah, it's still early. Things are going to play themselves out, like you said. Just one thing that just completely baffles me is that Georgia finds themselves not in a 12-team playoff. And then we'll get into it later in the show where it looks like Georgia is a 10.5-point favorite over number 7 ranked Tennessee.
Shocking.
And you're like, how does this make any sense? Vegas is in the business of making money. Usually they're right a lot of the times. I don't know. It's just Georgia passes the eye test to me, and to have them not in the top 12 to me is just, to me, an atrocity. So things are going to play themselves out. But what's going to happen when Georgia beats Tennessee? Okay, and then now you have a 2-loss Georgia team and a 2-loss Tennessee team. Are you going to keep both of those teams out? I don't know. This is going to get real interesting. Going to have to see and play itself out. But I do like these first round matchups as they look here on paper. I mean, getting to watch Boise State and Ohio State go at it,
that'd be sick.
That'd be pretty dang cool, man. And Notre Dame go on the road to Tennessee.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
I mean, that'd be great.
I would love to see Ole Miss and that defensive front just absolutely wreak havoc on a Penn State team, to me, who's kind of untested, unbattled, and I don't know if they really pass the eye test. So I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at. It's still early, but it's just bizarre. Just bizarre to me. That's all I got to say.
It is bizarre. I thought Greg McElroy made a great point on ESPN last night or on Tuesday night during the ranking show. He said, hey, you take a look at some of these matchups in the first round. Alabama going to Indiana. Bloomington, it seats like 50,000 people. I mean, that's half the size of Bryant-Denny. Who knows what the weather could be? Ole Miss going up to Penn State. What if that's a night game and they white that out? Who knows what the weather could be like in Central PA on December 20th? Boise State in the Horseshoe. That would be awesome. I mean, Ohio State's the second-ranked team, and they don't get a bye because here they're projected to lose the Big Ten to Oregon. So those are the things that you have to think about. And then you woke up on Wednesday morning, and you've got really everybody in the media dumping on the rankings. Like, how did the committee get to these rankings? What were the discussions? Where does strength of schedule, where does strength of record play into it? Georgia has lost 2 games, both on the road, both the top 10 teams.
Yep.
Right? Like, how does that not play in to them being in the bracket at this point?
And you got
go ahead.
Go ahead. I mean, you got number 3 ranked Texas and number 4 ranked Penn State, who don't have a win against a current top 25 ranked opponent. So I don't know.
How do you argue that? Like, how do you argue that?
We're in November. That's how we kicked off the show. Is we're in November. It's coming down to the wire, and you haven't either played or beaten a top 25 opponent.
Here's something that and I gave Danny Cannell. I like Danny Cannell a lot. I get to work with him on a couple of digital shows. I think he's very, very smart. When he takes to social media, he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly what buttons to press. And I believe, just based on the interactions that I've had with him, Jake, like the things he says he actually believes in. He is authentic. And he's taken the stance. I think I mentioned this maybe on last week's episode. He was like, beware, because the talking heads are already trying to get the narrative out as to why some teams, based on their quote-unquote preseason rankings, deserve to be in over some other teams. And then he kind of went full force on Tuesday morning because Heather Dinich, ESPN's college football playoff insider, hit the Pat McAfee show, and she was already starting the narrative of, hey, don't count out a 3-loss SEC team. Don't do it. Now, why do you think she says that? I'll tell you exactly why. Thank you for asking. Because she is in cahoots with the committee. She is the reporter, the insider. The committee is literally telling her, hell, she's in Texas outside the meetings. The committee is texting her, telling her, here's what's going down. Go ahead and start saying it so the committee can look better when they do these things and the media can plant these narratives for her. I promise you, That's what's happening. There is a very simple fix to this. And I've said it time and again, and I'll say it once more. Broadcast the committee meetings. Put them somewhere. ESPN, ESPN Plus, YouTube. I said on an Instagram video, put it on OnlyFans and make us pay for it. We'll do it. We just want to know what the hell is being said. Let us know what the discussions are. Let us know what the debates are, Jake. The players deserve to know. The coaches deserve to know. The fans deserve to know. Everybody around the game of college football deserves to know. Why are we protecting these college football bureaucrats? It blows my mind, Jake Fromm.
No, I agree 100%. And I think coaches and players and fans, obviously, as well, they just want to know kind of what the criteria is, because it just seems like a lot of times it's a little bit of this week, or it's a little bit of this year.
Right.
We just want to know explicitly what the criteria is, because I know for a fact a lot of athletic directors would like to know, hey, do I need to schedule a tough out of conference opponent to get that signature win, or do I want a fluff cupcake game, get the dub, the record looks better, or is it who I'm beating and how I'm beating them, or is it
who I lose to? Right.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of gray area in this, and I don't think the fans deserve that, the players or the coaches.
They're always moving the goalposts. That's just what they do. They always move the goalposts. I think it would be fascinating to hear these arguments. It really would. And I compare it to the federal government. You can go to C-SPAN. It's the most boring channel on cable television.
But they got it.
You can watch Senate hearings all day. I mean, if that's what floats your boat, you can go do it. I will give the government credit for one thing. You can go to C-SPAN and you can watch with your own two eyes how incompetent they are. That's what it's there for. Like, they should do that for the college football playoff committee meetings. I guarantee you the ratings would be phenomenal. I mean, let me sell the ads. I'll do it. Shout out Prize Picks. Shout out Solomon Brothers Jewelers. Hell, we'll get them on there. I mean, it is great. Let me just ask you one question, because I want to do one more thing that Danny Cannell said. What's the explanation? I'm putting you on the spot. What could possibly be the explanation for not doing it? And you're not allowed to say, I don't know.
They don't want to look stupid. I mean,
that's really it. Or they don't want the blowback. They don't want the blowback, right?
Yeah. When they have to make the squeeze at the last second, when Alabama finds themselves in the SEC championship and they lose to Texas, and now Alabama's a 3-loss team, and they're going to squeeze them in the last second because Indiana or BYU lost a late one. That all they're thinking is, oh, thank God that happened. Now let's keep these powerhouses in here and let's get some TV ratings.
Hey, money talks. It all comes down to ratings. Like, I'm not an idiot. I know exactly why they don't do it. It's because of that exact reason. And they're protecting themselves. Yep. These people are very well compensated. They've accomplished a lot in and around college athletics, I think. And for whatever reason, they get to go behind these closed door meetings. And you know what's even worse is that the cameras are in there. They're showing them to you in the meeting room when they're, teasing it and saying, oh, the rankings are coming out tonight. You see the cameras in there. Like, I want to have some sort of audio. Okay, so then the next thing, a lot of people are looking at these rankings, and it's a very divisive issue. I mean, it's a lightning rod. People love to talk about it. And again, it goes back to ratings. It'd be killer ratings if you broadcast the actual meetings. And people would say, well, I mean, why the hell should SMU get in, right? SMU, would they beat Texas? This is a tweet that Danny Cannell responded to. Somebody said, come on, do you really think SMU would beat Texas? That's the real question. And Danny Cannell answered in a great way. He said, I don't know. Do you think Vanderbilt would have beat Alabama? Do you think Northern Illinois would have beat Notre Dame? Do you think Kentucky would have beat Ole Miss, or Georgia Tech would have beat Miami? That is exactly why you play the games. Peter Burns, SEC Network, we're going to get to him in just a second. He tweeted out, hey, guess what? In 2026, I guarantee you they go to 16 teams. Expansion only leads to more expansion. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, Jake Fromm. Let us see what the hell is going on, and then we can all argue about actually what's being said, not what we think is happening. So
Amen, brother. I mean, in the speculation, let us see it, open it up. We want to hear it, see it with our eyes, and make our own assumptions and have our own thoughts, and at least be able to disagree with what I know to be true that's coming out of the horse's mouth.
Correct. Open up the kimono. Let us see. And then we'll judge based with our own two eyes and that little brain we have rattling around our skulls. Right. So the beauty of it is it will play itself out. We have 3 weeks of the regular season left. And of course, there's a huge game this weekend in Athens. College game days in town. Tennessee against Georgia. It's a de facto college football playoff game. You would think that the loser is definitely on the way outside looking in, depending on what were to happen the last 2 weeks of the regular season. And then, of course, conference championship week. That leads us into second down. And there is a big storyline around Tennessee starting quarterback Nico Iamaleava. He obviously didn't play the second half last week against Mississippi State. Was it a concussion? Was it a collarbone? He took a weird fall on his back. He also took a weird fall on that throwing shoulder. They sat him. There was a video of Josh Heupel going around telling the team, hey, 8 is out for the second half. And then on Monday, Heupel comes out and he says, hey, we think Nico's going to be ready to go. He's showing good signs early on in the week. And then Chris the Bear Felica from Fox Sports, everybody knows him. He used to be on ESPN and College Game Day. He was on, I think, UGAsports.com's podcast. Shout out Roddy Nabulsi and that whole crew. And Spencer, roll this tape. This is what he said, according to his sources.
And that being said, I don't know what you have heard about Nico Iamaleava playing this week. I have heard that it was a bad concussion, and people that I've spoken to do not believe that he is going to play. We'll see what happens. Josh Heupel certainly offered a different tune, as you would expect him to do early in the week, to probably just have Georgia prepare as if Nico were going to play, have the college football playoff selection committee prepare to rank them as they were going to have their starting quarterback for this game. So, look, maybe my intel is wrong, and maybe he is fine, and hopefully for his sake and the health of him in the long-term future, I hope that it wasn't a bad concussion. I hope he is okay, and I hope college football fans get to see him out there on Saturday. I'm sure some Georgia fans probably don't necessarily want to see him, but that still being said, he has struggled throwing the ball.
Okay, so Chris the Bear Felica really made some waves with that report from his sources, and I would trust him enough not to just be willy-nilly with what he's heard.
Yeah.
He's not just going to go find some guy who's telling him Nico's got a bad concussion and he's not going to play. So he comes out there. I would say he's a pretty credible source. And then Josh Heupel, I think, doubled down. If you want to pull this screenshot up, Spencer, of what he said earlier in the week, Josh Heupel on Nico Iamaleava. This comes from the Vol Report on X. Quote, Nico has been good here in the early part of the week. I'll refer everybody to the availability report that comes out later tonight. So this was Wednesday. And everybody can wait with anticipation for that. So we're recording this. It's 8 p.m. right now on Wednesday evening. Spencer, I know you're rocking and rolling for us. I'm going to task you. I think the availability reports come out at 8:10 p.m. We'll keep our eyes on that, see what Nico's status is on the availability report. Again, that's a new thing in 2024 for SEC matchups. You have to put an injury designation on guys who have been in whatever protocol for all types of injuries. My question to you, Jake, is being a quarterback, is this gamesmanship? I mean, the Bear brings up a great point. Surely Heupel wants to keep his cards close to his chest as far as the matchup goes. But then you talk about the college football playoff. Like, you want the committee to think you're rolling your best out there. And I think Tennessee's backup quarterback is a walk-on named Gaston Moore. So that would certainly lean towards the understanding of why the hell Georgia's a 10.5-point favorite. I can't wrap my mind around what's going on here with Tennessee starting quarterback Nico Iamaleava.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on inside that building either, but you have this report from the Bear, and then you have a 10.5-point line on the game. I mean, it's just like some clues, they're kind of leading up. Well, there's something going on here, and it definitely has some oomph to it. Like, hey, this actually might be real. This is getting sticky. there actually might be some traction to this. So I have no idea. I know Kirby and the Georgia football team are going to prepare like Nico is the guy and playing. But, without going into the game too early, the key to the game is not stopping Nico Imaliava. The key to the game is stopping Dylan Sampson, the running back from Tennessee.
Yes.
So I'm like, Nico, now he has played better the last 2 weeks versus Kentucky and versus Mississippi State, but it's versus Kentucky and versus Mississippi State.
Correct.
Dylan Sampson is a dog, and they're winning games right now from running the football and physicality and playing good defense. So, even if Nico does play, I don't expect him to be 100%.
Yeah,
but you never know, man. You never know.
Dylan Sampson, 201 carries, almost 1,200 yards, and 20 touchdowns. Folks, we've got 3 weeks left in the regular season. He is by far and away the best running back in the SEC. This guy is a total workhorse. You are going to get a full load of Dylan Sampson this weekend. Pause. Because it is going to be tough to rely on Nico if he goes, or Gaston Moore, where you put him in this situation. I mean, Sanford Stadium should be absolutely electric. A night game, Georgia's first home game. 10 of Georgia's last 13 games have been away from Athens. That's just crazy to think about. But backs are against the wall. Season's on the line. I would assume Sanford Stadium is going to be one hell of an atmosphere. So I guess second down, we can wrap it up by saying we don't know. I've got no idea. I saw Jake Crane, a buddy of mine who runs a great podcast. He said, hey, my sources said Nico's good to go. I replied, I said, my sources said nobody knows what the hell they're talking about, right? Like, we have no idea. So assumingly we'll be rocking and rolling here, and I'm going to keep refreshing my page to see what the availability report says. But I would have to think it's going to be left pretty ambiguous, so Georgia keeps guessing what's going to happen. My last thought here, though, is I would be shocked if Nico doesn't play Saturday night.
Yeah, I agree there. And to feel kind of 100% about it, I want to just see videos of him Thursday in practice gear, practicing and doing Indy. If he does that, he's playing, and he's rocking and rolling.
Yep. No, that's a good way to look at it, especially from a guy who's been in the arena as a quarterback, dealt with injuries. You're getting reps with the first team on Thursdays in practice. You're probably going to be good to go, and the coaches think so too. So we'll keep our eyes on that one. I would expect Nico to definitely play. It should be a great game on Saturday night. Okay, let's go to third down. It's a topic that we've continued to touch on here all season long, because as the regular season winds down, this just gets magnified and magnified. Our buddy Peter Burns over at the SEC Network posted a great tweet, and he said, hey, caught an absolutely wild scenario that could play out in the SEC as it comes to who makes the SEC championship game and what tiebreakers could come into fruition. Peter Burns, at Peter Burns ESPN on X, he says, wild scenario. If every SEC favorite wins the next 3 weeks and Arkansas beats Missouri, then LSU is in the SEC championship game, 3-loss LSU, 2 losses in the conference, versus the winner of Texas and Texas A&M, which is the Saturday night after Thanksgiving. So he breaks it out, and he uses a website. We'll post this website up as well because it's absolutely fascinating. But Peter Burns is showing you what needs to happen in order for this crazy scenario to play out. And it's really not that far-fetched. Texas beats Arkansas this weekend. Okay. LSU beats Florida. Okay. Georgia beats Tennessee. Again, very interesting game. South Carolina plays Missouri and beats them. We'll be touching on that inside the 5. And then the next week, all favorites win again. And then the final week of the season, all favorites win again. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the exact matchups right here. I don't want to read them out loud because it might get a little bit confusing if you're listening in your car or on your headphones. That's not too crazy to think, though. Favorites win. Texas beats A&M. Arkansas beats Missouri. You could have LSU play the winner of Texas and Texas A&M. Just think of all the teams that are left out. Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama. I mean, the teams that have really been whooping up on each other all year. Texas could be on the outs. You could have an LSU, Texas A&M SEC championship game, which would just be crazy to think about. We've talked about all these crazy scenarios. You know, there was a chance that Oregon could have been undefeated and the number 1 ranked team in the country and not played in the Big Ten championship game. I mean, SMU could win the ACC. Colorado could win the Big 12. There is so much that is still going to happen in these last 3 weeks. What are your thoughts on this wild scenario?
Yeah, I mean, when you get these bigger conferences, you have to start getting pretty fancy in the way you have to do these tiebreakers, and because it's just the odds of it coming up and coming to fruition are really quite high, as you can see from evidence this season in one giant jumbo SEC conference. So, man, I've been playing around with this software honestly the entire time we've been doing the show, because it's so unique. And then like just one little small win or loss there just changes the whole thing. So pretty crazy to look at and go in depth. But if Arkansas beats Texas this weekend, well, and all the favorites went out, then you're left with an Alabama LSU rematch for the SEC championship. So the way I kind of see it now is it looks like Georgia's going to have a tough time finding themselves in the SEC championship unless Vandy somehow upsets LSU, not this coming weekend, but the next weekend. And I honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing.
I agree. Pull this website up, Spencer. It's fascinating. Peter Burns tweeted it out. I'll retweet it as well on X. Some guy, shout out to this guy. He created a website that has a pretty simple software platform to where you can go into men's basketball, women's basketball, and football, and you can create your own tiebreaker scenarios for any conference. And you can pick which teams you think are going to win, and it will spit out who's going to play, and then how they got there based on
the how part.
The how part is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Pull that up if you can, Spencer. The explainer here, because it shows you what comes in. Like, this is fascinating, right? So he puts it up here. Texas wins out. They're 7-1. LSU above Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas A&M based on conference opponent win percentage. That is how LSU would get into the SEC championship game if that scenario plays itself out. If every favorite wins over the next 3 weeks, LSU would get into the SEC championship game based on conference opponent win percentage. It's absolutely wild to think about. This is how things are going to be determined moving forward as to who gets into the conference championship game, Jake.
I mean, who you play really seems to matter, and who you beat, and honestly, who you play and how they go fare against the rest of the conference, as you can see here. So, basically, you want to beat people, you want to beat them bad, and you want them to go out and start whipping up on everybody else. And at the end of the day, each school, each team controls their own destiny. Win the games you're supposed to win, and it takes care of itself. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on here, a lot to digest, a lot of numbers and a lot of percentages. And man, when you start kind of getting into these fourth and fifth lines of tiebreaker scenarios, man, it gets pretty complicated pretty fast.
Okay, so I'm going to run through a scenario right here. I'm going to pick one upset per week, okay, in the last 3 weeks, and we'll see what it spits out. I have no idea. I'm doing this in real time. Let's say Florida beats LSU this weekend. DJ Lagway plays. LSU hasn't been playing that well. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility. The game's at 3:30. Okay, Florida beats LSU. All other favorites win. Texas wins. Georgia wins. South Carolina wins. Next weekend, November 23rd, let's say, I just had LSU losing. Let's say Auburn wakes up and beats Texas A&M. I think that's not out of the realm of possibility. Auburn needs to get one win. So Florida beats LSU the first week. Auburn knocks off Texas A&M the second week. And then in the last week, Arkansas beats Missouri, because I believe that's what Peter Burns said needed to happen for that scenario to play out. So we'll go with that one. Calculate the standings. I have no idea. It would be Texas versus Alabama in the SEC championship game. It's a really good, fun little project if you're sitting at work or if you're sitting at home. Again, I'm going to post this. Spencer's showing the website right now on our YouTube page as well. I want to do this one more time and pick one for me, Jake. Just guess a game this weekend. Pick one. An upset. Tennessee beats Georgia.
Yeah, let's just say that because that's the only really scenario. I'm so ingrained that Georgia's going to whip Tennessee, but like, what is the scenario then? It looks like because if Tennessee loses this game to Georgia, it looks like they're pretty kicked out from having a chance,
right,
to get to the SEC championship. So I wonder. I would think that they would be high in the odds. Then
okay, I got one. Tennessee beats Georgia. Vandy beats LSU at home. Vandy beats LSU because that definitely could happen. And then the last week, do you want to say A&M beats Texas, or do you want to say Auburn beats Alabama? I mean, it's the Iron Bowl. It's in Jordan-Hare. Let's say Auburn beats Alabama. Who do you think goes? Those are our three upsets. Tennessee versus Texas would be the matchup in the SEC championship game. This might not be good audio for a podcast. I'm having fun doing it. I haven't figured out a way Georgia can get into the SEC championship yet, but there is just one game here or there could alter literally everything. Let's see if I can find a way to get Georgia in, and then we'll move on because I don't want to just waste everybody's time. Georgia wins and beats Tennessee. Okay,
Georgia, so LSU then has to lose to either Vandy or Oklahoma.
I would say Vandy has a better chance of beating LSU than Oklahoma.
Yeah, and so that I think was,
and then maybe Auburn. Maybe Auburn knocks off Alabama.
Hold on. I did that. Let's see. Missouri beats Arkansas. So no, Arkansas still has to beat Missouri. No. Okay.
Auburn beats Alabama. Vandy beats LSU November 23rd. And Georgia wins this weekend. Georgia goes to the SEC championship to get a rematch versus Texas.
Oh, hey, I have a Bama-Georgia rematch.
How?
If Texas A&M beats Texas the last week.
Go. Okay.
Arkansas beats Missouri, and Vandy beats LSU November 23rd.
Gotcha.
Wow. Yeah,
that's Texas has to beat Texas A&M.
Yeah, Texas kind of controls the board.
Gotcha.
It looks like.
There you go. Fun website.
Man,
check it out. And shout out to that guy who made it. Whoever that is, that's a fun little project, fun little thing to kill some time. bball.notnothing.net. That's what it is. bball.notnothing.net. If you want to,
we got for you
some fun on that. So a fun little thing there. Shout out to Peter Burns from the SEC Network for putting that one up on social media. All right, last thing before we head into our prize pick segment and then inside the five. Right before we started recording, I saw online that Jeff Lebby, head coach of Mississippi State, came out and he said, yeah, guys are already tampering with our players, right? Early signing period's a couple weeks away. The transfer portal is going to open up. Mississippi State's a team that obviously has not been playing too well or up to their expectations so far this season under a first-year head coach, Jeff Lebby. But On3 Sports reports, and Jeff Lebby said it himself, that teams are already tampering with Mississippi State players. Look, this is nothing new over the past couple of years. You hear coaches say this kind of stuff. Jake, here's my thing. Jeff Lebby, tell us who's tampering. Just air it out. What's going to happen to you? Are you going to get fined? Why don't we just put people on blast? Because this is not supposed to be happening. Of course, there's no enforcement in this day and age of college football. This should not be happening. It is happening. The only way to stop it is to start getting people in trouble. Be a tattletale, Jeff Lebby, and tell us what teams, what coaches, what runners, what collectives are out there talking to your players, trying to get them away from Mississippi State.
Yeah, I think sadly you have to do it. Nobody likes to be the first or wants to be the first. Now there are some who would be ecstatic to go and put everybody else on blast, but I think some kind of fine schedule maybe, and not necessarily finding the university, but finding the individual person or coach that's doing it. That's the difference between college and the NFL. In college, it's somebody else's money, it's the university's money, but in the NFL, it is somebody's money. It's your money or it's the owner's money, and the owners, they like their money. So
yes, they do.
Stuff happens quick. It is firm and it is swift. Can we get that maybe to college football a little bit? And I just want a good pure product. That's all I want.
Is that too much to ask for?
Is that too much to ask?
No, it's not. No, you deserve that, Jake Fromm. You've done enough for the game of college football to just want a pure product, right? The kids can make their money. They can transfer. They can do whatever the hell they want. It's a great time to be a student athlete. Just give us a pure product. It's as simple as that. All right. This episode of Punt and Pass presented to you by our awesome partners over at Prize Picks. I went with a very friendly entry this week because I need to get on the board. Looked at a couple of good games. I dotted the schedule a little bit so I have some action all day long. And here's where I'm starting. Colorado has a chance to get into the Big 12 championship game. They have a chance to make it to the college football playoffs. Shedeur Sanders playing some very good football right now. They have been airing it out. Nobody can really stop him. He is extremely efficient. They play Utah this weekend. Shedeur Sanders more than 1.5 passing touchdowns against Utah. Quinn Ewers, Arkansas. They go to Arkansas. Texas does. Quinn Ewers, let's get a good game. Let's be crisp in that first half. Let's go some quick, short to intermediate passes. Let those guys like Isaiah Bond take it and run with it. Quinn Ewers against Arkansas, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. I think he's going to get there as well. Just two.
I think he threw 5 last week or something.
Ashton Genty, Heisman favorite. They're playing San Jose State. This is the best running back in the country. Let's pad those stats, get him a Heisman Trophy. Ashton Genty, Boise State running back, more than 1.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns. That's the entry. $35 wins you $70. To recap, Shedeur Sanders, Colorado quarterback, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns against Utah. Quinn Ewers, Texas quarterback, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns against Arkansas. And Ashton Genty, the best player in college football, arguably, more than 1.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns, Boise State against San Jose State. That's it. I'm on the board. Send me into the holiday flavor. Week 13 next week. My Prize Picks account's going to be full. I appreciate Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code PUNT. Your first $5 entry, win or lose, gets you $50 instantly. All right, let's jump inside the 5. Some good games this weekend. We'll start in the SEC. We've talked about it already, but the third-ranked Texas Longhorns are heading to Fayetteville to take on Jake Fromm's fighting Sam Pittman's, the Arkansas Razorbacks. Noon kickoff on ABC. Texas a 13.5-point favorite. This total 57.5 points.
I mean, Arkansas is coming off a bye week. I do not know for sure if Taylon Green is healthy or not.
I think he's expected to go.
Okay, if he's good to go, man, I like him to fight, man. I really do. I like them to give themselves a shot in this game. It's in Arkansas. I'm not expecting them to win, but I am fully expecting them to not lose by more than 13.5 points.
Yeah, I think that's just a lot of points, especially at home. Arkansas beat a top 5 ranked Tennessee team at home at night in early October. These two teams have played each other a fair amount in the past, going back to the early 90s. They played 7 times. Texas only 1-6 against the spread in those 7 meetings. The Razorbacks have been inconsistent. They do have upside when Taylon Green goes and Bobby Petrino's dialing up some offense. They can definitely move the ball, and they're coming off that bye week. As you mentioned, they got smoked by Ole Miss 2 weeks ago. Yeah, Texas has more talent. They've got more to play for. This is just too many points here. I think Arkansas could be a little spunky. So give me 13.5 points with the Razorbacks. I mentioned Colorado. Go ahead, please.
I mean, we just saw what happened. Sorry, just as a quick side note, we saw what happened last week. A highly ranked team goes on the road to a familiar opponent at noon, Miami versus Georgia Tech.
Yeah, buddy. You're exactly right.
It's possible, Coach.
You are exactly right. Been talking about Colorado a lot. It's a fascinating story. You're even starting to see the ESPN talking heads say Deion Sanders could be the next head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. Watch out. That could be very interesting. Utah coming off a brutal loss against BYU a week ago where the AD jumps on the microphone right after the game and says the refs stole it from us. Utah goes to Boulder to take on the 17th ranked Colorado Buffaloes. Noon kick on Fox. Colorado, an 11.5-point favorite. The total is 45.5. And for my time zone people out there, this is a 10 a.m. local kickoff, Jake.
I was just about to ask that question and look it up. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What time zone is Colorado in? Dude,
10 a.m.
that is criminal. Can they do that?
Fox caught a bunch of flack this week because the big noon kickoff game is their first pick, right? Like that's the game that they want to get their ratings with. I guess they've really done a good job. And I will say, with my media background, I understand why they did it. Even when we were in college, Jake, I don't know when Fox big noon kickoff started. Spencer, you might know when they got those rights to the Big Ten in the Pac-12, which was then the Pac-12, but now the Big 12. They said, hey, we're dumping all this money into college sports. We're going to own the noon slot. The noon slot used to be kind of sleepy games. 3:30, of course, was the SEC on CBS. And then ESPN and ABC have always owned night games on football. So they dumped a bunch of money and they said, screw it. We're putting good games at noon. And like Ohio State has played so many of their big time games at noon. I mean, Penn State hosting Ohio State, that was a noon game. Those fans hate that because the whiteout game is supposed to be at night. Spencer, our super producer, says big noon kickoff started in 2019. So that was your last year at Georgia, Jake. Yeah, 10 a.m. local kick for the boys out west.
That's just absolutely brutal. So advantage home team here, all ready for that at 10 a.m. Sure. That's just, I don't know. That's criminal. I mean, that's I don't even know what you call it, but that I cannot believe that is allowed to happen. Now, 11.5 is a lot of points, but they're hot, they're rolling. And in games like this, man, you start tripping the mind out, and you say, hey, I got to start fast. Colorado has all the guys, all the tools to be able to start fast. And Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders. So I think they're going to go out. They're going to play very well, play fast, and I think they can cover here. Just 11.5 points.
Yeah, we're pretty simpatico on this one as well. However, Utah has won 11 of the last 12 against Colorado and 7 straight against the Buffaloes. Colorado's 2-5 against the spread in those 7 games that they've lost in a row. The Buffaloes have won 6 of their last 7 games. They're currently second in the Big 12. They're 7-0 against the spread. The Buffaloes are in their last 7 games. I keep going back to Shedeur Sanders, 24 passing touchdowns on the season. Travis Hunter firmly in the Heisman conversation as well. Utah's lost 5 straight. I mean, that loss last weekend was absolutely brutal. They had that thing in the bag. They thought they won the game until a late flag came out. So I think Colorado keeps stampeding towards the Big 12 title game. I'm on the same side as you. I'll lay 11.5 with the Buffaloes. All right, let's head into the SEC. 22nd ranked LSU heads to the Swamp to take on the Florida Gators. 3:30 p.m. Eastern kick on ABC. LSU just a 4.5 point favorite. The total 54.5 points.
That's I don't know what to think about this 4.5 points. I mean, Florida just got absolutely railed by Texas last week.
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers throwing for 5 touchdowns. Wasn't playing any defense. But with this game and with the next game, Missouri and South Carolina, these lines are so off. I think I'm going to jig when they jag, kind of take a little zig and a zag, kind of playing off words here, what you do here, DB. And I'm going to go with Florida on this one because they need it desperately.
They do, man, in the worst way. And if DJ Lagway plays, I think they're a live dog at home, especially. Could be a big win for Billy Napier against a top 25 opponent. And this is Florida's SEC West rival, right? Like these teams have played.
They play every year.
Consistently.
Like us and Auburn.
Past. That's right. Florida's lost the last 5 meetings straight up and against the spread to LSU. The over is 6-0 against the spread in this series with an average of 74 points per game.
Oh,
I like Florida as well. Look, if Lagway plays, chuck that ball. LSU kind of a lot of infighting. You're hearing some rumblings about Brian Kelly. What's his future at LSU? I'm not saying he's on the hot seat, but like people want to know, when are you going to get over the hump with all this talent you have on the bayou? So I think Florida's a live dog at home. We're on the same side once again. Florida plus 4.5. The next game, very interesting. 23rd ranked Missouri at 21st ranked South Carolina, 4:15 Eastern kick over on the SEC network. South Carolina, a 12 point favorite. The total 44.5. I was watching that rankings release show, and like the guys were gushing about South Carolina on ESPN. They're like, this team's playing great. They probably should have beaten Alabama.
They should have.
They've got great pass rush. Lenore Sellers is starting to find his groove. Shane Beamer's quietly having a really good season in Columbia.
Yeah, especially as of late, middle of the season, late, playing some good football right now on offense and on defense. Everybody knows about their defensive line, their two edge guys, but on offense, they're playing pretty well right now too. Man, they're putting up points. They're they're playing good complementary ball. They just got that signature win at home versus Texas A&M where they scored 44 points. And they just beat a sneaky Vanderbilt team who's given people fits. Everybody knows about Vanderbilt. Honestly, give me South Carolina here.
Wow,
I mean, they're just
laying the 12, huh?
Absolutely, man. Just kind of with Colorado and just playing the feel, playing the momentum. It's late in the year. The momentum is real, and now they're making strides to give themselves a chance for some good stuff in playoffs and good bowl games.
Missouri's 5-0 straight up and against the spread against South Carolina since 2019. So they've really kind of owned this matchup. Williams-Brice Stadium really comes alive, especially when South Carolina is playing good. A very, very tough place to play. But here is when Shane Beamer takes the step backwards. Here is where, he's got so much love. The committee rankings, everybody's showering him with praise. South Carolina's a team that's on the rise. I think we showed it on Monday's podcast where, the All-State playoff predictor, they had South Carolina with a percentage chance to actually make the college football playoff. But Missouri did too. And after the win against Oklahoma, which was a crazy ending, Eli Drinkwitz jumped on that post-game media availability on the field and said, this win keeps us in the playoff hunt. That's right. I said it. Playoff hunt. So he's got those guys believing that they can do it. Questions around the quarterback position still for Missouri, but 12 points, that's too much, Jake Fromm. Give me Missouri plus 12. I think that actually be a really, really good game to tune into. Again, 4:15 kick, SEC Network. Check that one out at your tailgate before you head over to that Georgia-Tennessee matchup, which is where we head next to finish things up. It's a huge game. Number 7, Tennessee at number 12, Georgia. 7:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff, a night game on ABC. College game day in town. A college playoff berth hangs in the distance. And what? Georgia, a 10.5-point favorite against Tennessee. The total's 48.5 points. I mean, this is mind-boggling.
Yeah, night game at home, questionable if not. If Nico Imaliava is going to play, I've heard talk about maybe a blackout. I don't know if they're doing the jerseys or anything, but I know the fans are trying to organize that going on. I just think this is a big-time atmosphere in the making, much like it was 2 years ago when Tennessee came to town as the number 1 ranked team. And they haven't had – the fans, I don't think, have had that moment yet, especially this year, where they felt, hey, I'm going to matter. This is a big game,
right?
And we need it. And so I think everybody's going to feed off that energy. They're going to respond well. But let me tell you now, Tennessee's a good football team. They have a great running attack on offense. Fantastic player in Dylan Sampson, man. And their defense, their front seven, I'm telling you, are some good, tough football players. It's going to be tough to operate. Georgia wants to get the running game going. Let me just tell you now, they're going to be running their heads up against a wall on that defense a few times, and it's going to be frustrating. I could see this being a very low-scoring game, kind of in the low 20s, 24-21. To me, this is about tough-nosed football. Don't turn the ball over. Win on third down and score touchdowns in the red zone.
Super producer Spencer Ray chimes in and says Nico officially listed as questionable on the SEC availability report that just dropped while we are recording. So I'm sure everybody will be talking about that on Thursday and Friday. The prognostications will be rolling in hot. Hypothetically, Jake Fromm, if you got a phone call Friday morning from like a blocked number and you're like, what's this? And it sounded like a White House operative called your phone and they said, hey, we have Carson Beck on the line. We want to give you 5 minutes to talk to him. What would you say to Carson Beck heading into this weekend?
Hey, trust the guys around you. Trust in your preparation. What you've been doing throughout the week, nobody does it better. And Coach Kirby's smart and what they ask their guys to do in order to prepare. Don't try to do too much. Play within yourself. Don't try to be who you're not or do something. Don't be Superman.
Yeah.
Go play ball. Operate. Let it rip when you see it. Be smart. And really, you know, we talked about him turning the ball over and not giving Tennessee anything, man. I really think if you just don't give this team anything, the chances of winning this game are big, man. But turnovers are going to matter a lot this football game. And if you lose a turnover battle, you're going to lose this football game.
Very simply said. I mean, I have no arguments with what you just said because it's simple, it's real, it translates. That is how you get out of slumps. You play crisp football. You don't turn the ball over. You win first down. You get into third and manageable. You don't try to be a hero. Here's what Bill Belichick told Tom Brady and everybody on the Patriots for many years. Do your job. If I got that phone call and they said, hey, Drew, talk to Carson Beck, which of course would never happen, I'd ask him a question. I'd say, Carson, are you having fun? I would assume he would say, hell no, I'm not. And then I'd go, how can we have fun? Football is supposed to be fun. Turning the ball over is not fun. Losing games is not fun. Having fans just absolutely shred you on social media, that's not fun. How can we have fun? You don't turn the ball over. You win first down. You get into third and manageable. You don't try to do too much. I think, and again, it's so simplistic that it is very hard to do. And you and I have talked about this on this very podcast. Getting into that mental headspace, it is a vicious cycle, man. When you think negatively, bad shit happens. It's just a way of life. The coaches are not going to put Carson in bad situations. They're just not. Tennessee is ranked 4th nationally in creating havoc. That's a word, havoc, that Carson Beck is not really equipped to deal with at the moment in the headspace that he's in, the style of football that he's been playing in the past couple of weeks. How can we mitigate the havoc that Tennessee's defense is unquestionably going to create? I know, run the football, open up play action, right? Get the second level of the defense to hesitate just a little bit. Get the ball to your tight ends, move the chains, sustain drives, don't turn the ball over. It's football 101. Let me tell you what would be fun. If Carson Beck went 12 of 18 for 146 yards and 1 touchdown, and Georgia ran the ball for 200 yards, dominated time of possession, didn't turn the ball over, and won the game. I don't care if you win the game 10-9. I don't care if you win the game 7-6. That would be fun for Carson Beck. It'd get everybody off his ass, at least for a little bit. Then you get to play UMass. That Tech game, we haven't even gotten to that. That's become a whole new conversation. Yeah. But he's got to have fun. You can't turn the ball over because here's the unfortunate situation, and it just sucks to think about. With as electric as the crowd's going to be, and we haven't even really broken down the game yet, if he turns the ball over early, you bet your ass fans are going to boo. It sucks to say that. Jake, they booed you. I got booed. We all get booed. You play the game long enough, they're going to turn on you at some point. You can't do that. So just, I'm laughing because I see it happening right now. I hope it doesn't. But it's just a reality of the situation. This is big boy football now, man.
Man, big boy football with big boy expectations.
Yes,
and
sir.
The expectations are, well, you know, at the beginning of the year to win a national championship. Well, in order to get there, it starts with getting into the playoff. In order to get in the playoff, coach, let me tell you, you have to win this football game. This is the first time we've really seen their backs against the wall. Cannot
100%.
Wait to see how they respond to that. Man, are we going to get their best? Are we going to get them playing tight? Lord hope not, but man, I want to see him at least go down swinging and at home.
Yeah, because last week they got knocked out early. Georgia did. It was not a game whatsoever. I was at an engagement party for my sister-in-law, so like there was a lot of commotion. I had an eye on the TV. I mean, second half, it wasn't even a football game. Like you got your ass beat so bad it didn't even matter. You cannot have that happen this weekend. I don't expect it to happen. Tennessee's last win in Athens was 2016, the Josh Dobbs Hail Mary on the last play of the game. The Volunteers in the last 2 years have been held to their season low in total yards in each of the games against Georgia. However, Tennessee's defense has not allowed any opponent to score 20 points this season. The highest amount they've given up is just 19. Georgia's won the last 7 in the series. They've covered the last 5. It's no surprise to anybody. The offense for the Bulldogs is struggling with identity, consistency, and most importantly, turnovers. Jake, this just seems like too many points, man. This is a desperate spot for both teams. You said it. It's the first time really since 2020, the shortened COVID year, where Georgia has a truly meaningful game in November. Usually it's that SEC championship game. It's like, hey, if we win, we get in. If we lose, we may or may not get into the playoff. Having 3 losses at this point in the season with what else is happening in the top 20, top 12 rankings, Georgia would be firmly on the outside looking in. 10.5 points. Nico's questionable. Dude, it's just too much. Tennessee's defense is very good. They are very good. They rotate their D linemen. They cause a lot of havoc. Dylan Sampson's a dog, the best running back in the SEC. What travels in football? Defense and run game. Tennessee has both. I think this is a close game. Either way, give me the 10.5 points with the Volunteers.
Give me 10.5 with the Dogs, 24-13. There's your final.
Wow. So you're laying it. Okay. Right on line. You're right on line with the total. You're right. Oh, that's 47, right? 30. That's 37. Excuse my math.
It's all right. Forgive you.
It's just shocking to me. You know, I'm one of the guys that likes to think, why on earth is it 10.5? Like, of course they want you. They're begging you to take Tennessee. They're begging you.
I can't believe you did what you did. I mean, you were the biggest zagger to the Zig game ever.
Let me see. I'm pulling up one thing real quick. I want to see the percentage of bets right now. And I'm going to vsin.com. They've got a great they got betting splits, and it tracks what the action is. It aggregates all the action on the books. I'm looking at it right now, and it tells you where the money is. Right now, 76% of the bets on the handle, the money, 76% of the money is on Tennessee. 80% of the bets are on Tennessee. So what I'm saying is that those big, beautiful casinos that you see out in the desert, those guys who set these lines, those guys who compensate all these big money bettors to come in and lay down huge money on Saturdays, those guys who built those sports books, who built those casinos, they will be the biggest Georgia Bulldog fans in the world on Saturday night. They need Georgia in the worst way. And usually when that happens, Jake, the house wins. So you're on the side of the house. I can't get there. 10.5 points. The hook is tough. We're doing it at 10.5. It's going to be different on Saturday.
Yeah.
Probably closes around 10. Might even dip down to 9.5, depending on which way the big money comes in Saturday. But at 10.5, give me Tennessee. 24-14, Tennessee covers. That'd be a huge win for Georgia. But I'll take the Vols plus 10.5. It's going to be a great game. And you say 24-13, huh?
Yep.
Maybe Nico gets knocked out. Look, if a walk-off quarterback gets out there, Georgia's defense should feast. So it's going to be a great game. The atmosphere should be crazy. Backs against the wall. Look, Kirby challenged the Georgia Bulldog Nation after that Auburn game. Seems like a pretty good opportunity for those fans to accept the challenge, make some serious noise. I think they forced 8 false starts back in 2022 when Tennessee came in as the number 1 ranked team in the nation. And you know what happened that game. It was almost the exact same scenario. Tennessee was a huge underdog, and Georgia went in there and kicked them around. So, all right, our last 2 picks were on different sides. Fromm laying the 10.5 with the Dogs, and I'll take those 10.5 points. I think that hook is very, very valuable. Well, it's going to be an awesome weekend. There's no doubt. And if the Dogs win, man, that Tech game becomes all more important, which will be crazy the Friday night after Thanksgiving. Appreciate you hanging out with us. I felt like that was a really good episode. I'll give us a solid A.
I think so. I think it was really good. I'm proud of you, Drew. I don't know if anybody said that. I'm proud of you, and I think you do a phenomenal job here with the podcast.
Man, you know what? The podcast has really picked up, and I'll give Spencer Ray, our producer, a ton of credit. He has helped us out tremendously. I think our product on YouTube is great. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Punt and Pass. We're on social media at Punt and Pass on X and Instagram. I'm at Drew Butler. He's at Fromm Jake. Huge shout out to Prize Picks, presenting sponsor of every Thursday episode of Punt and Pass. I gave you my Punt and Pass Prize Picks entry of the week. Shadur Sanders, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. Quinn Ewers, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. Ashton Genty, more than 1.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code PUNT. You get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 entry, win or lose. Shout out to Prize Picks. Also, check them out on social media at Prize Picks, an opportunity to win $5,000 this weekend with the Prize Picks World Championship. So check that out. Jake Fromm, anything on the way out, my man?
No, man, we said it all.
We have said it all. No doubt about that. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the games, and we will talk to you on Monday. See ya.
Yep.